Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trek Talk. I'm Brian Hill, the jack of all trades, the master of none. Well, let's get started. Start talking about episode 7 of Picard called Napenthe. First off, I would wholeheartedly agree with what Culture had to say about the episode. It felt like a nice, warm TNG hug, something that was greatly appreciated. But let's get into some of the points and what happened and what I thought about it. It starts off with a flashback of the scene of Director O talking to Dr. Agnes about following Picard on his mission. And then you finally get to see what she got to see with the mind weld, and that's some craziness. So needless to say on that one, the story's getting good. I always found it kind of funny that she gave her a blue pill. But anyways, then we move on. The Romulans are basically torturing Hugh and trying to get information as to why he helped Picard and where they went. The Romulan killed some of the Borg and left Hugh alive. Elnor came in and protected Hugh at the end. Like I said before, Elnor, he's really growing on me. I really like his character. And then we go through the opening credits, and I noticed that the Jonathan Frakes was a special guest episode, and I knew that already, but fantastic. So it leaves off where Picard and Soji end up on the planet, and they get stopped by Riker and Troy's daughter, named Kestra. If you remember TNG in the, I think it was 6th or 7th season, Deanna Troy's mom had a daughter before, or Deanna Troy had an older sister, and her name was Kestra. So that was a really nice throwback on that one. So basically, when she meets Kestra meets Soji, she finds out that she's an android and asks her questions about Data, which is really interesting. She doesn't know much about Data, but Kestra definitely does. Her parents definitely spread the word on Data and what he could and couldn't do. Personally, I am so happy to see Commander Riker back. Number one was one of my favorite characters from The Next Generation. Honestly, you can't get much better than that. And to see the fact that the Rikers were still together after all these years and after all their personal tragedy. It's not like Star Wars where, like, say, Leia and Han split up over what happened with Ben kind of situation. I was also happy to see that Riker was happy to see Picard back. It's kind of been refreshing in a sense, just because that's my favorite era of Star Trek. So I've always enjoyed The Next Generation and pretty much everything after, mostly Deep Space Nine. Fantastic show. Let's get going again. We find out that the Rikers had a son. His name was Thaddeus, which is a throwback to the Voyager episode where his grandfather was a Civil War general. And he was saved by Q, took back to the front lines. It's really interesting to go back to the ship and see that Dr. Agnes is trying to defend herself to a point, but you can tell she's really scared about what she knows and what she's done so far. And then Rafi, I assume Rafi knows more than she's letting on, but she offers her some cake, and you almost kind of wonder what's in that cake. It seemed to me like she was offering her drugs. It was kind of interesting. back on the planet, we see that the Rikers have their own garden, and cooking has always been a good pastime of Commander Riker. So it was really, really good to see that he's basically just become a pizza chef. Let's see. And the reason why the Rikers lost their son is because he had a neurological disorder that could only be cured by cybernetic life or positronic net. And then I love the fact with the conversation that Troy and Picard had, because they had so many of them on the Next Generation about just moral quandaries and other issues like that. It was very refreshing to see, and it was good to see that she wasn't necessarily scolding, but it took a couple of parents to break down the situation and how to handle Soji from now on. So I really, really, really like that. And then we zoom back to the Borg cube, where Elnor and Hugh are trying to retake some stuff, but then they end up getting caught, and a fight ensues. And at the end of the fight, Hugh gets stabbed in the neck by a knife and basically passes. But Elnor takes it upon himself to defend the cube, and at the end he presses the button for the Fenris Rangers. So 7 of 9 is going to be back in the next one too. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. The tone of the episode I really liked. It was kind of a welcome departure from a lot of the grit that was going on in the earlier parts of the seasons. But all in all, probably one of the best so far. It's been said that it was the most Trek episode of Picard, and I'm grateful. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. Looking forward to more discussions regarding the show, and all in all, take care, my friends, and have a good week, and hopefully I'll see you next week with another episode of Trek Talk. Alright guys, have a good day.